I'd like to bring our three panelists up. They could come on up, and we're going to start with some introductions. And poor Andrew thought he'd go a whole day without any IT issues. And so he made it, and fingers crossed that our presentation is here and working well. Okay, so I'd like to introduce the three panelists here. I'm super pumped about the three gentlemen I have here to my left. We've had some exciting conversations leading up to National Links Trust Symposium. And I'd like to start with, on my immediate left, single-handedly the person who came the furthest to be here for this event, Laurie Watson. Laurie is the Director of Engagement at St. Andrews Links Trust, which operates, maintains, and promotes the 7 public golf courses that constitute the internationally renowned home of golf in St. Andrews, Scotland. Laurie has been in his role for 7 months, having previously served as the Links Trust Head of Communications and External Relations and Media Manager since 2012. Next to Laurie is Jason Black. Jason Black is the owner and founder of Butler Pitch and Putt in Austin, Texas, which is a 9-hole par 3 course that does over 100,000 rounds of golf a year. And last year hosted the Tito's Shorties Classic, which was broadcasted on Golf Channel. As an owner that is not active in the business, which I don't find to be true, his role is planning the overall strategy for the year, which includes the programming that drives the top line and maintenance of the course schedule to maintain high quality playing conditions, which could be challenging with 100,000 rounds. For Jason, Butler Pitch and Putt is a passion project to introduce golf to new people that would never show up at a real golf course. He estimates that over 80% of Butler's customers have never played 9 holes of traditional golf. The success of Butler Pitch and Putt is driven by creating a laid-back experience that has quality turf, cold beer, and cool swag. And lastly, we have Kendall Murphy. Kendall, since November 2021, Kendall has served as the Troon Golf's first Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. In his role, Kendall helps lead and manage the company's diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives while working with Troon's DE&I Council, Troon Associates, and members and guests of Troon-affiliated facilities to accomplish the company's DE&I goals and objectives. Kendall's a PGA member with over 12 years of golf industry experience, most recently serving as a PGA career consultant for the Northern California PGA section of the PGA of America, as an adjunct professor to UNLV's Harrah College of Hospitality, as an assistant director and program coordinator for UNLV's PGA Golf Management University program. He's a 2-time winner of the Southern Nevada Chapter PGA Golf Professional of the Year Award. In addition, Kendall is also a co-founder and co-chair of the Black PGA Professionals Caucus, and he currently serves on the PGA of America National Education Committee. Now let's give these guys a round of applause. So we, as we were sitting in the room today, we heard a lot of themes that were being discussed as part of what we knew our session would be, alternative golf programming. And so a lot of those discussions will continue to be chatted about over the next hour or so. And we're excited to dive in on a couple different angles. First and foremost, a lot of the things that we talked about is fun. When we think about golf, golf has to be fun. And we have so many things that are competing for our time in lives that if we do not create a fun experience for new golfers, for lapsed golfers, for even current golfers, it's going to be tough to retain those customers. So with that, we've got a couple different things we're going to allow each panelist to go through and just kind of share a little bit about their experience, their company, their tie to municipal golf, and hopefully some things for you all to take away. Right. So I'm going to turn it over to Laurie.
Thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here. I've had a wonderful day. I'm very proud to represent St. Andrews. This is the first opportunity we've had to travel for a couple of years, so it's wonderful to be here in the room with you all. I'm very proud to represent St. Andrews, and I always feel there's a lineage that goes from St. Andrews to every single golf course, and in particular municipal golf, because these gentlemen heard me say it earlier, but I class St. Andrews as the GOAT or the OG when it comes to municipal golf. So it all starts there, as we say. It's good marketing line. So we obviously have the special opportunity that we are custodians of the place. We've got a very special USP, which is that it is the home of golf, and it manifests and resonates with so many people in so many ways. And when we were talking about alternative golf programming, I kind of did a straw poll at work to say, well, what does that mean to us? And I think golf evolved over centuries in St Andrews. We've got 600 years of history that we have to be proud of and passionate about and we're protective of. But, back in 1552, we didn't call it alternative golf programming, but there was a charter in St Andrews that turned the old course into a public park on a Sunday. And to me, that is there's your route one to what is alternative golf programming, which is some of these images demonstrate that, genuinely on a Sunday, we have everything that could possibly happen going on that golf course. It is a free for all for members of the public to play soccer on the 18th. So we don't need to do foot golf because they can play soccer on the 18th of the old course if they want. They can play disc golf. I'm not saying that we shouldn't do those things and we should look to do those things in the future, but these things already happen on our golf course. And I think if the home of golf can do it, the birthplace of the game can do it, then there's an opportunity for everywhere to make their golf course more than just a golf course, but a real special place that engages with the public. So these images just sort of show you that time passes and photography gets better, but the fact that we can have reams of people walking across our golf course at any time hasn't changed, and that's something that we still uphold and maintain. Somebody asked me earlier today if do we have signage or do we protect the greens? There's none of that. It is effectively a public park on a Sunday, and you can come and walk it, because fundamentally we want everyone to have access to St Andrews experience. So whether that's on the golf course as a golfer, or it's just wanting to come and acknowledge that that sloping bridge, that bit of masonry, and you want to get your picture on it, we want to make sure that people can have access to that and do that. So I guess my starting cursor is that alternative golf programming manifests itself in so many ways, and I do believe it's an integral part of the golf experience in St Andrews.
Jason.
Yeah, so I'm born and raised Austin, Texas. My dad was a coach at the University of Texas. I grew up playing golf at a lot of the municipalities, picked up a lot of range balls and baskets and cleaned a lot of clubs. So the Butler project really was a spawn of me wanting to give back to Austin. Our junior golf program early on when I was a kid was really strong, and then it continued to dwindle down. And Butler was a really neat 6-acre par 3 golf course that wasn't well maintained in Austin. And, it's like, you got to imagine what you can do with it. So as I was, and so I ended up putting together a group, and we ended up partnering with the city and got a 20-year contract with it. And it's been a joy. My why for golf really was a byproduct of the relationship with my daughter. My dad was a coach. He was coaching a lot. And when I was a new dad, I was like, I'm going to be a good dad. I'm going to spend time with my kid. And, my daughter, I just spent this past couple of days with her. She's a first year at the University of Virginia, and she's playing golf at UVA, which is really cool. But we spent 12, 13 years traveling all over the place. The two of us just building a wonderful relationship. And I wouldn't give that's probably the most impactful thing that it's happened to me in my life. And my goal with Butler is, how can we introduce more people to the game and impact that parent-child relationship? That's just really true to me. And that's the why at Butler. But Butler is a phenomenal place. We are the antithesis of normal golf. It's flip-flops, bare feet, dogs, music, food trucks. As Glenn said, we just need to have good greens and cold beer and some music. And it's been a great experience. We will do between 8,000 and 9,000 rounds every month. And we lean in on just trying to do things that are fun. It's not about making them better. It's just all about building relationships. Everything that we do is all about social. And we found that people just want to hang out, chill, drink some beer, and with no intimidation. Our green fees are, right around $12. They can rent clubs for $1. So they can be on the golf course playing golf, and for less than $20, they can have a phenomenal golf experience.
That includes the beer, the first beer.
The beers are $3 to $5. So, but it's fun. So I encourage you to look up Butler Pitch and Putt. It's like I said, gas that 80% of the people who you go there, some of the people have never picked up a club in their life and they're on the first tee. Not scared.
Kendall, your why. What is your why? What's your tie to municipal golf?
Well, I started with municipal golf and Lake Chabot Golf Course in Oakland, California. That was where my start came from. So for me, municipal golf is what I know. I've worked in all sectors of golf, from public, private, resort, corporate, everything else. But municipal is where it's at. Municipal golf is extremely important because that's where the game is born. That's where we find the next generation for the most part. And all of us in this room, we're the stewards of it, of the game. We're the stewards of municipal golf, and we're stewards of the future of golf. So that's my why. That's why I do everything I do. My philosophy has always been to make the journey for the person behind me better than my journey was. And the people ahead of me, some of which are in this room, made my journey easier than their journey was. So the philosophy I have is if we continue to do that, then the game will be in a much better place and everybody will be a lot happier. And municipal golf is ultimately where that starts. It's our biggest place to have the largest impact to the youth of America, but also just to people in this country.
So I wrote down and we've heard a lot of statistics today, but we generally know 24 million Americans play golf. We also know that about 17 to 18 million, there's a latent demand. They have an interest in playing the game. They haven't figured out how to quite get into the game. There's also been a stat that's been used that there's 110 million Americans that have either watched, played, consumed, or expressed interest in playing the game. And when you start to add up these numbers, and even another one, 10.4 million non-golfers said they were likely to play if they had the right person or the right program or the right event to bring them into the game. In the past 5 years, non-golfers who have wanted to play has risen 43%. So we've been, and I feel like I say this every day in my day-to-day conversations with clients and people in the industry, is very fortunate to be in an industry that was very well set up during the pandemic. And so we're in a position right now where we see these numbers and there is a huge amount of growth, but then we start to see where we're potentially heading. And even just in the last session, I got an email that said rounds played are down about 1.7% in September and 2.5% year to date in the US. So we're seeing some leveling off. We're seeing people going back to work. We're seeing competition starting to pull people in other directions, maybe away from golf. And so I go back to fun. I go back to how do we continue to create an environment where we can keep people in the game, we can keep them retained. And what I'd like to do is, Laurie, maybe just to kind of build on what you shared with these images here, maybe just continue to kind of tell the story of the history of the game, how you tie that forward many hundred years later, and some of the different things that you're doing at St. Andrews.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I guess in some respects, some of the alternative golf programming we do would have a commercial endeavor. Some of it has a public benefit, so some of it's around wayfinding around the property. So, you know, in peak season in St. Andrews, we will have, you know, the golf course is full of visiting golfers and local golfers, which I won't get into the ecosystem of golf in St. Andrews too much, but maybe over a beer later, that's a better environment for that. But you effectively also have a lot of non-golfing traffic that just come to St. Andrews, like I say, because they know that place. They maybe haven't played golf before, but they know that place. And one of the things we discovered was coach parties and cruise ships would just deposit people next to the golf course on a golf day. And those people didn't really know anything about the rules or how to navigate a golf course, and would just acknowledge that bridge in their eye shot and would just pick the straightest forward way to get there, which irrespective of who was playing golf or who had a birdie putt on 18 or the first, they would just make a beeline for the bridge. So one of the things we did was we created sort of guided walking tours, and they vary from a very light touch that helps people get that must-have picture, gives them a sense of the history of the place, provides them with opportunities, whether it's to go and play the Himalayas and have a St. Andrews experience, which is very accessible to every non-golfer. You just need a putter and a ball. Through to on a Sunday, we obviously have it turned into a park, but we also know there's a hardcore golf fanatic out there. So we will do a 3-hour deep dive where you can hear every single story about the 110 bunkers on the old course. You can hear every single fact about the size of the double greens. And yes, there's a commercial benefit to the trust, but I think it's also about delivering an experience that gives people access to the old course, gives people access to St Andrew's story, and basically effectively makes them ambassadors for us moving forward. Because wherever they return to in the world, they're going to talk about, I went on this golf course, I was allowed to walk on it, I was allowed to do this. And I think that's a message that can resonate wherever you are. So that's just some of the pictures. This is the Himalayas at the top. So I don't know, I'm sure some of you have heard of the Himalayas. Again, I'd say it's original crazy golf, or putt, whatever you want to call it. I mean, the background of the Himalayas was, in fact, yeah, things evolve. So just don't quote me on any of this, but Tom Morris, back in the sort of 80s, 70s, the ladies in the town, the women would go down and they would putt on the putting green next to the old course. And they started to create such a wear pattern that a lot of the golfers were getting upset that when they'd go to warm up, it was dust, basically. There wasn't any grass. So Tom Morris went and designed the Himalayas on this stretch of land just adjacent to the old course. And the first ladies golf club was formed, which is the St Andrews Ladies Putting Club, which still exists to this day. So this top picture is the ladies of the day in their finery. I'm not sure many people want to play golf in that today, but that's what they did. And the Himalayas had a golf club, and they would play medals twice a week. They would go down. It was very competitive, and it still is. So the bottom picture is those medals continue to this day. So the St Andrews Ladies Putting Club is alive and very much kicking. They kick the Links Trust quite a lot if we're responsible for preserving it. So if the greens aren't running at the right pace, they're quite critical of us. But again, it's closed when they play, but 7 days a week, that's a facility that hundreds, if not thousands of people literally get St Andrews experience and a golf experience playing at the Himalayas. And we're very proud of that. And we love being able to tell that story. And then to see, to hear the stories of, we had a call and it was like, you see the evolution of this, and it's an opportunity for us to go, well, the Himalayas is a really important part of what we do. But here what Jason's doing, we can go, well, that's really cool. What can we take from that? What can we learn? How do we improve? How do we get better? So, it's amazing to hear, social golf. That's something that we're really passionate about as well. Yeah, 150th Open. If any of you were there, it was pretty good. David was, I know that. Again, just showing, I think one of the things that stuck out in my head the last day of the Open was there was a few injuries, unfortunately. But again, the public nature of the old course, the history of the Open, the history of the fans going up the 18th behind the champion golfer of the year. A few people misjudged that jump over the Slocum Bridge, maybe thought they were Michael Jordan, but maybe not quite. But again, it's that nature. That's a picture from 1927, and then again this year, it's the same. History moves on, the golf course moves on, but our ethos and what we believe in and making this place accessible to people hasn't changed. It's a big part of golf culture in Scotland is that we're accessible, and I think that's something I think can be universally rolled out. This is a video.
This should be the video. See if it works. It may not.
Don't worry about it.
Yep. Thank you, Laurie. Thank you very much. Jason, we can almost taste that first beer, and you're going to help us taste it through Butler Pitch and Putt here. Specifically, what really has impressed me, just learning more and having known Jason for quite some time in the industry, just how much of an impact they've had, not only on the community, but how they've done that through programming. And so can you just maybe take us through a little bit about some of the things you put together and kind of how you've created that culture, how you've created the programs, how you've created this vibe that is already being replicated across the US?
Yeah, I would say my main takeaway is really, how do you find the customer's why? And if you can understand what their why is, then you start grouping all the whys together. So if you think about, we've got, lots of people coming to Butler, we get their information. Well, let's survey it. Let's continue to identify their whys. And once we identify enough of their whys, then we can start to stitch together some really powerful programming. Not everybody wants to go to a real golf course, and candidly, not everybody wants to even be good. They just want to go out there and, blow some steam off and get drunk. Not saying, but that's some of their why. But, but a lot of people will just, I mean, a lot of downtown, our ladies program started with, call it 40, 50 folks. We now have over 1,000 people in our ladies program just because of it starts with getting it, creating that experience. And then they tell their friends, and then they tell their friends. And then we do a really good job of using social media. That generation and the younger folks, everybody wants to post pictures and selfies and stuff like that. And so for them to be able to expand what we're doing and then say, hey, I did this, you want to come join me? That's the evolution of that example of the ladies program. And then the other stuff really gets into just looking at different verticals. So some of the whys are like, hey, I want to play skins games for money, or I want to play, bigger tournaments with bigger money, or the parents that have kids that have never played golf at all. So we just really do a good job of knowing our customer, understanding their why, and then scoring customers and putting them in some sort of CRM, customer relationship management system, so we can market specifically to those guys and say, hey, we've got something going on, come join us. That's kind of the high level. Some of the stuff here it's really looking at Butler, much like St. Andrews. It's a park. We don't really think of it as a golf course. It is a golf course, and we want to continue to have golf programming, but not everybody wants to come to Butler to play golf. A lot of them want to just, chill and relax, or play a couple holes, or putt on the putting green. So, some of the stuff that's been really successful for us is leaning into that evening programming. They really, really love the night golf. It's a higher perceived value. There's no like, I got to score this. A lot of fellowship, a lot of gamesmanship. And then a lot of times we'll partner that with a movie night. So if you bring a family down there, some people don't want to play, they can go watch a movie, and the rest of the guys can go play golf. And that's really on the reimagine the footprint. You think of a driving range, you could turn that into a lot of things. So on this, it's really about the experience. Same idea as the footprint, but again, figuring out all the different ways we can make the park fun. And a lot of it will involve golf. Some of it doesn't involve golf directly. So we have a lot of people, it's like, hey, let's do a yoga thing. So they do yoga and then they go play golf together. We bring in Santa Claus and give out a bunch of stuff for the kids. And then we have bogey nights are on Thursday night, where we have live music in the courtyard, and it's for people just to come relax and have a good time. This is one thing that I think everybody could really, the demographics that play golf, they're so powerful in your local community. And we have found that a lot of companies want to associate and partner with the demographic. So if we wanted to do a program where we didn't charge anybody, so we might find a customer like a Cricket, and they would pay all the green fees, and now Cricket's got an hour and a half to 2 hours to have conversations with these prospective people. We've done that with Yeti, we've done that with Tito's, we've done that with Random Golf Club. The Tito's thing was really fun, being on the Golf Channel and such, but the partnerships with the community, that's something that I feel like everybody can really lean in on. And then this is really part of the secret sauce, I believe, is really how do you continue to leverage your social media? It's certainly not going away, and social media tells some amazing stories, and it amplifies your brand to literally thousands and thousands of people, and it gives you the ability to build a relationship with them when they're not at the golf course. So there's certainly a lot of different ways to do that, but I would encourage everybody to really look at their social media and then have that reinforce your programming, tell the story, and then let them sign up for the next events that they might want to join. And then this is just a snapshot of just to give you a little view of the Butler experience. You know, we've got a food truck, we've got something called the the Gimme Burger. Dogs are out there all the time, doing a lot of parent-child events. But like I said, it's 100% focused on fun. We're not trying to create great golfers. We're just trying to only, when they're there, they're in a relaxed, fun, chill environment. And it's not very expensive.
I don't think these videos are going to work either. So thank you, Jason. And just to kind of build on what Jason talked about and some of the different programming and night golf and food and music and all these things that are bringing in new golfers. I think as an industry, we've always done a pretty good job of talking to the same people who come to our golf course over and over and over again. And that's great. And that's a certain percentage of people that are playing, and they're going to play. And you know that's guaranteed business. But I think really the focus, particularly of our discussion, is around where can we start to reach these new audiences. And across the portfolio at Troon, Kendall, there's a ton of examples that I'd love for you to kind of walk us through, all different types of facilities, from high-end private resorts to private and resorts to municipal public golf courses. So would love for you to kind of just talk us through some of these different examples.
Absolutely. So at Troon, we're fortunate to have a very large portfolio, the largest portfolio in the world when it comes to leased, owned, and managed golf courses. So we have the ability to be able to do a lot of different things. And one of the big things our sales and marketing team strives themselves on, and it flows into operations, is being different. We pride ourselves in allowing our operators to think outside their boxes and to utilize their facilities to maximize not only their profits, but also the community's ability to access the facility. So if we're looking at, focusing on our public access facilities and our municipal facilities, you'll see right here, this is Papago, which is our municipal facility in in Phoenix, Arizona, where we were able to do a lot of cool things there. This golf course happens to be home to the ASU men's and women's golf team. Phil Mickelson put in a ton of money into their practice facility, and it's one of the best practice facilities probably in the country. That's great for those 20 players, right? That's awesome. The rest of us get to use Papago, the public golf course, the municipal golf course, been around for years, that everybody in Arizona loves. So when we had the opportunity to be able to remodel the clubhouse, we thought about it as being a restaurant first. It's a restaurant that happens to be at a golf course. So as we market this restaurant, we're marketing it the same way you have Change the Market or whatever other restaurant within the area market. And the location of the golf course is close to ASU's campus. So we happen to be able to pull in a lot of people from the community, so much so that the business mix of this restaurant at Papago is more skewed towards non-golfers than it is towards golfers. So they're doing more business daily from individuals just coming to have dinner, lunch, or breakfast than someone coming off the golf course after playing 18 holes or 9 holes or after practicing. That's pretty cool right there. And that's us just being able to utilize and maximize what we have in front of us. So this right here is in my former hometown of Las Vegas, Nevada. It's Angel Park Golf Course. Angel Park's unique because they have an 18-hole lit par 3 golf course, as well as an 18-hole lit putting golf course on the same property, plus a lit driving range. So there's a lot of stuff, and it makes sense in Las Vegas because it's so hot. So obviously we tend to do more things in the evening, so it makes sense for the community. The community can now not have to bake in the 120-degree weather. Instead, they can wait till 6, 7 o'clock at night, sun's going down the summertime, and still enjoy themselves on the golf course and have a fun round of golf, and be able to challenge themselves or just be able to have fun on the putting course. So that's another opportunity that we had to be able to be unique and be different and think outside the box, and not just dedicate all of our time to golfers, but also dedicate our time to what the community can actually use and need. This is probably our coolest one that we have here in Palm Springs at Indian Wells Resort. This is a fun lit putting course that is this way year round. And again, it's in the desert. So we do a lot of things with lights because we want people to come at night because we understand it's too hot during the day. If you've been to Palm Springs, the average age in Palm Springs is probably 75 to 80 years old. So we know they're not going to come out in the middle of the day. So we still want to see our customer base. So we know what our community is. We know who's around there, and they support us and we love it. So that's another cool opportunity that we had.
And I'll just make a note here. Buffalo works with a variety of Troon golf courses, including this one. And after meeting the GM for the first time, you get it. The guy by the name is Sven, and you can see why this is got so much energy behind it because the personnel on property brings that energy. And it's every time I get off the phone with Sven, I'm like, man, I wish I could start every morning with him. Like he's just got that much energy and it's nonstop. I mean, this in particular is such a cool visual, but to actually be there to experience it, to see people having fun, it's a whole different level.
That's cool.
And then this is part of the putting, the lit putting course, Angel Park as well. We can go to the next one. You go to the next one. Yep. This is showing, this is in Pine Canyon, which is in the mountains of Arizona, so Flagstaff, Arizona. This is basically showing how we're able to, and Pine Canyon is actually a very private club. It's part of our Privé brand. So it's a private club, but we're able to utilize the land for food trucks and then the restaurant and open it up still to the community of Flagstaff to be able to come and utilize it as well and not just close it out because it's private. So kind of how we talked about the whole access thing right now. Although it's a private club, so access is limited to the golf course, it doesn't mean you can't still come see the property and enjoy the beautiful views on the property and then be able to at least enjoy some food on the property. So we have ability for that. Okay. If anybody's ever been to Gamble Sands, you know it's a masterpiece. So we're fortunate to be able to manage that facility, and it speaks for itself on what they're able to do on that piece of land up there in Washington. But then you look at Mini Dunes, which is another golf course in Arizona, which is just a kind of a short golf course that's able, again, give access to people to play golf in a fun way, to not necessarily feel the stress of having to, I can't end my driver today, I have to figure out how to walk. No, you can go out there and play 9 holes very, very quickly in a pitch and putt fashion. Not as fun as Butler, but we can still be able to serve you some beers, some good burgers, and have some great views, in the desert. So another project there. This one. These are just more pictures from Southern Dunes. So yeah, we keep going. And then another thing, I mean, as we've heard here from throughout the NFT, Langston put in Top Tracer into a lot of our facilities. And Top Tracer has proven to be very, very good for us. It's a very smart technology. It's fun. It's gamifying the game, which is a word that I didn't even know about till a couple of years ago, gamifying the game of golf. But now it's part of my vocabulary, and it makes sense, right? We spend so much time on our phones. We spend so much time on our tablets, right? And everything is in a game mode, or everything's instant, right? So the days of us not knowing what our ball speed is, what our club head speed is, how far the ball went, or having to go and get a lesson or go find somebody that has a TrackMan or go and measure it off. Those days are behind us now, to where now we're able to justify putting in this technology into many of our public access facilities because we're able to see not only a smart return, a very lucrative return on investment when it comes to it financially, but we're also able to see the huge community impact where we're able to bring in so many new golfers and non-golfers alike just to see the new technology, and then they like it. So we look at it like people are going to go to Topgolf because it's ultimately a bowling alley for golf. Right? They're going just to have some fun, have some good food. When we look at our ranges, it's the same way now. So why not just come, smack a ball around, play a game, one of the multitude of games on the system, have some good food at one of the food trucks or in the restaurants, depending on what property you are within the country, and then go home and just enjoy yourselves for that hour and a half. So that's been really, really helpful for us, and we're looking forward to getting Top Tracer put in across the river there here shortly, and keeping it going here in the DC market. Golf Zone is we have a strategic partnership with Golf Zone. It's a Korean-based company that is going to blow up here very, 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 very quickly. If you haven't heard about it, you will, and you'll say, wow, I definitely heard about that recently, but it's going to be, they have an amazing technology, it's a similar technology, and they're also coming out with the launch monitor technology that's affordable. And when I say affordable, it's like it's less than $700, I believe now. Maybe 1,000, maybe 700 to be exact. But either way, this technology is able to, it's a similar technology. So, but they have their mats can pivot and move. So you can have uphill, downhill lies. So a lot more accurate when you're actually playing the golf course. And when you're playing Pebble Beach, it'll actually move your feet to where your lies are supposed to be as you are on the golf course, which is absolutely phenomenal. But beyond that, it's just the build outs of these golf zones are really cool. If you can liken it to like kind of like a 5-iron experience, right? It's very similar type of experience to where you have your simulator, you have your bar, you have your food and beverage, you have your bay assistants helping you out, that kind of deal. There's also gonna be a golf pro around if you need something. But again, it's our ability to be able to bring people to golf, right? To be able to bring somebody that may not even know what a club is, what a golf ball is, what the name golf is, but they see something that looks kind of fun and they're going to go check it out. And then when they check it out, they're going to be able to eat some good food, have some good drinks, have some good communion with their friends and their families, and just be able to have a good time for an hour or two and then move on. We're very fortunate to have a lot of facilities in Hawaii. So the Hawaiian Islands, if you know, they run a little bit different than the mainlands do, to where it's a very free flowing nature out there in Hawaii, which is amazing. I kind of wish it was more like that over here sometimes, but in Hawaii, that we're able to like relax a lot of our rules. So we talked earlier about, you know, the stigma of golf having tons of rules and being very specific and very strict. Well, in Hawaii, we relax a ton of those rules just off of the Hawaiian culture. So obviously the dress is relaxed, right? You're gonna see more people out there barefoot playing golf than you ever will before. You'll see more people in t-shirts and board shorts, and that's okay with us. We really don't care. You could be at Princeville and be that way. That's totally fine. But you can also play in it's almost like a 12th right there too at twilight. It doesn't bother us, right? If your group wants to do it and we can make it happen, we have the ability and autonomy. Our guys and gals out there have the autonomy to be able to make things like that happen to enhance the experience for the community again. So again, for us, it's all about creating a welcoming experience to where when the golfers come back or the customers come back, they look back at their experience and say, man, they not only did they welcome me with open arms, but they guided me through the process. They allowed me to be able to have a good time. My friends and family had a great time. I cannot wait to go back there or to another property that has Troon's name on it. That has been my goal since I got here with the company almost a year ago, is to create that welcoming environment to where individuals want to come back. Because I know what it's like to bless you. Because I know what it's like to bring in people and have a door wide open for you. You go through that door, and you may as well go to another door because you don't know what's just happened right there. And then you leave that door and you never come back. I know what that feels like, right? So the goals that we have and my company shares with me is to be able to, when we open these doors, to never have another door on the other side, but just have endless a number of opportunities for individuals to be able to have fun and enjoy the game of golf. So that's like one of the main things.
And in your role, Kendall, you've got at your fingertips just this amazing amount of assets and, you know, creative and unique operators at the facility level. From your role at the corporate level, from a DE&I perspective, like how does that help you do your job? How does that help you to reach broader audiences and maybe different audiences that are already coming to your golf course?
Yeah, well, like I say, I mean, we look at a few things. Access and opportunity are number 1 and 2. So when we're looking into the space of how can we assist other individuals, we're looking at access and opportunity. So I want to make sure that we're giving access to as many people as we can, but we're also giving opportunities for individuals that may not even know what the game of golf is. And then how do you do that? Well, it comes from partnerships. And I was talking to Dr. Cooper about this morning. It's all about the partnerships that we built to where, Dr. Cooper with the USGA, Kenny Simpson with the PGA of America, the fact that those two gentlemen right there, I have a close relationship with and always have, means that now my role managing the most golf courses, if they know of a grassroots program that needs something, it's just a phone call. Steve Outlaw talked about it earlier today, partnerships, for example, with Midnight Golf and Renee Fluker. That literally came from the African American Golf Expo, where she told her story. Our chief development officer heard the story and said, Kendall, we have to help them. And at the end of the day, and that's what happened. Next thing you know, I'm on the phone with Titleist, Nike, in our facilities in Michigan, saying this is what they need. Let's give it to them. We'll figure out the price later of it. Like that. That's how we're able to help. And yes, that's one situation, but it's in order. We just need to be. My goal is just for us to know who's out there, who needs the assistance, what assistance do you need, and then for us to be able to match it up. Steve touched on earlier. Yeah, our biggest asset are our golf courses. So if we're able to give an access point to whether it's a green grass, or whether it's a grassroots organization or an up and coming junior golfer or some golf program or whatever, that's what we're looking to do. Obviously, we sponsor things all the time, but our number one asset is our courses. So we're looking to be able to use those, especially our public access facilities, so the individuals know that they're out there and be able to help as we can.
So enough of the easy questions for these guys. Let's heat it up here a little bit. So one of the things I'm curious about, Laurie, is obviously the history and the bucket list experience of going to St. Andrews. I was fortunate enough to do it with my dad. But how do you balance that energy, that excitement of, we talked about earlier, the purists, the traditionalists of the game, the history of the game, with fast forward to 2022 and what golf looks like now? And how do you engage the local community? How do you engage the cruise ship folks so that you talked a little bit about it, but what are ways that help get people with a golf club in their hand?
Yeah, so I mean, I think we are, and I'm acutely aware of this, in the fortunate position that we have a supply and demand issue, but it's the reverse one in terms of there's almost infinite demand to come and play the golf courses and not enough daylight hours in Scotland for us to satisfy that demand. So I think in the last sort of 5 to 10 years, today in the room, there's a lot of talk about community engagement. We've recognized that that's a really important facet for us. We've got 6,500, we'll call them pseudo members, but they're our ticket holders. And I think we had perhaps fallen in a situation where we almost made that relationship that it was annual, transactional. You pay for your ticket, you get access to the golf courses, and didn't really realize that actually they're a big part of St. Andrews, big part of the experience, and they have businesses and they have families, and we needed to do more. So we started reaching out to them, engaging with them on a more regular basis, and also start to recognize that there were different things we could do. St. Andrews has got an aging population, and they still want to have a relationship with us. So what can we do? So we worked with the World Golf Museum, which is based in St. Andrews, and we created a dementia program for people with early onset dementia, Alzheimer's, and we basically worked with the museum for them to come in, and these individuals have phenomenal, moments and iconic moments related to the old course, or even personal moments, having lived in the town where they maybe had a beer in the Dunvegan with Seve Ballesteros in 1984. And that has been a really, really wonderful program for us to be involved in and engage with those people, and give them a relevant relationship with St. Andrews, but also to be honest, to engage with the community in a better way. It's really helped us reach a different audience. In a similar vein, last year, predominantly on the back of the pandemic, we started to look at health and well-being. So around the golf course, not just because we host these events that require infrastructure to get around on a regular basis, but we've now made the paths that go around the old course a lot better than they used to be. They're not just asphalt anymore; they're actually tarmacadam roads. And we recognize that a lot of people, run. A lot of people want to have the old course as the backdrop for their morning run. So we worked with the local health authority, and we created a sort of 5.97 mile route to say this is a route for you to run the old course, and you don't actually have to physically be there. You could be anywhere in Scotland, download the app, and you can run the old course every day. And it gives us an opportunity to tell stories, to tell people about on mile 4, you would be next to the road hole bunker, or on mile 2, you're out at the furthest point and the highest point above sea level. And we're really fortunate that that story resonates with people, but it's just been an opportunity for us to engage with people in a different way and reach a new audience.
So just down the road from here in Alexandria was the first ever Topgolf that was built. Many of you probably know that, especially those that are in the DC area. So flash forward to today, off-course participation. So non-green grass golfers. So Topgolf, Drive Shack, Puttery, Putt Shack, you name it. It mirrors what is our on-course participation of 24 million in a matter of just a few years. And so, Jason, the question for you is, you've been a serial entrepreneur in this game. You've been around this game. You've seen the ups and downs of this industry. How as an industry do we capture those individuals? We could go to the Topgolf, and there's 2 or 3 now in the DC area, and they will be jam-packed. There's probably a wait till 10 p.m. tonight on a Tuesday. How do we get those golfers to Butler Pitch and Putt?
Good one. So the thing that's keeps me up at night is when you look at what's it called, the tennis thing, cricket or paddle, pickleball. Look at pickleball, and you kind of scratch your head and say, "Hey, what's the pickleball solution for golf?" Pickleball's crushing it. It's probably the fastest growing sport in the world. They've got pro leagues. I mean, they've got, Jordan Spieth and Scotty Sayers were playing. Scotty Scheffler were playing the other night. But the pickleball is that going to help tennis? Who knows? But there's a ton of people playing pickleball. So my general take on a lot of the things related to how do you take a person down this journey, it's really about, what do they need to be armed with to be able to show up at a golf course? We all talk about growing the game, and I kind of talk about how do you create the fun and enjoy the game first. And if you have enough enjoyable moments, all the growth stuff will be organic and happen. And so depending on what that personality is and what their goals are, that journey will be a little bit different. Some people don't want to be a golfer. They just want to go enjoy hitting something and being really bad at it, but having fun. So Topgolf serves a wonderful purpose because it gets people holding golf clubs and swinging, and great videos on where they fall into the net. but at Butler, what we've been able to do, our version of pickleball is we have tons of people that show up, have never been to a golf course in their life, and they've got a club in their hand for the very first time. And they're not intimidated, they're not stressed. It's just a really chill environment. Is that going to be the recipe for getting them into a real golf course? I don't know. I guess that depends on whether they want to get better. But we've at least given them the ability to experience golf, experience putting, experience going to hole to hole. And we feel like we are a little bit on the front end of the par 3 golf courses that aren't bound with a 18-hole golf course. And so we kind of just make up the rules as we go.
So in a short period of time, you've created an incredible amount of demand, 100,000 rounds per year. How do you balance, and what are some best practices that you and your team employ in terms of planning so that you can bring in these different types of events, programs, things that are going to bring in even more new golfers so that next year can be 125, 150,000 rounds?
Yeah, I would say the main thing that we do is almost look at it like an airline. You got Monday through Sunday, and then you got the morning to the evening. And depending on the personality of that person, they're going to fit into one of those time slots. Who are your morning guys? Monday morning guys, your Tuesday morning guys. It's very different than your Friday evening and afternoon people. So once you start getting your arms around your database, then you start to determine what your programming is based on your database segments. And then it's more or less like what we did with the ladies program. We just start with something that may be terrible at the beginning, but if we keep nurturing it, we can slowly get that flywheel. You're going to fail at the beginning, but you've got to continue to nurture it, and your database will continue to grow. They'll tell their friends. Mind you, at Butler, for us to be successful on like a program, we only need like 50 people. So that's a low bar of what the definition of success is.
And Kendall, as we now are moving into a challenging economy, we've got people that are going back to work. Even though my drive from Richmond was great yesterday, there was not much traffic. So maybe federal government workers have not come back as much. But how is Troon, and how in your role, how are you still trying to keep people engaged and keep them bringing out new people? Like what are some things that you're seeing across the Troon portfolio that are kind of trickling down to the grassroots level?
Well, we're just trying to keep things unique and be different. We face the same challenges when it comes to supply chain issues and labor issues. Well, we're facing all the same issues, obviously. Our demand, our golf demand is way up, so that helps a whole lot. So we're not really fighting for rounds, so to say anymore, which is a good thing. The negative caveat to that is it puts a strain on our current staff at our facilities. So as we come in and we really are pushing a work-life balance for all of our operators, all of our properties, we believe that to be very important. We align with the PGA of America on that. That work-life balance is probably the number one thing that we need to be focusing on right now for our operators and our labor force, because we don't want to see the burnout that we've seen historically, because we don't have many people to fall back to if we're losing people to run our operations. So we're having to reevaluate the way that we have originally done business, and we're having to look at scenarios right now to where we're just having different types of work weeks when it comes to our associates. But when it comes to bringing in customers, we're fortunate to where we haven't seen an issue since with the pandemic with customers coming in. Rounds are down a little bit, but revenues are staying exactly where they are, which wouldn't make sense because we typically raised our rates. So our superintendents are pretty excited that rounds are down, but revenues are up because now there's less people on the golf course for them. So there's pluses and minuses to that as well. But I would say that it's for us, it's just a matter of us just being conscious of what's going on and being conscious of what our associates' needs and wants are, right? Just kind of like how he was saying, you realize who are your morning people, who are your afternoon people, who are your Friday people, who are your Tuesday people, and you start to make schedules that fit their lives. And it's not a schedule that fits you and your company. It's like, hey, I know that you have a family and you need to pick your kids up. So are you okay working from 8 to 2, then you can go get your kids by 3? Does that work for you? Okay, cool. I know you have to go take your mom to dialysis at 12 every day. Would you mind coming in at 8, doing a split shift and coming back? Just being as we say in our company, we want to be intentionally kind, and by being intentionally kind, we're paying attention to what not only our customers but to our associates. Without our associates, we're nothing, and we understand that, and we take a strong, from the corporate level down, we take a strong interest in what our associates' feelings are, what their needs are, and we do our best to implement them as best we can to make sure that they are as comfortable in what we're doing as possible.
I want to leave some time for questions here. We're getting close to time. Go ahead, Jason.
One learning that we found that I think is probably applicable across the country is that corporate HR departments have a ton of money. And in our world, well, they have a ton of money for recruiting and retention. So the staffing at companies, typically it's, people are their most treasured assets. So I think that there's a tremendous opportunity to create specific programming that brings community, to brings employees together, where it's a fun place to work for that mental health space. So partnering with corporations in a recessive environment, I think there's a win there, despite potentially, people not having as much money individually.
And I know Coop's probably got 5 to 6 questions, so we want to make sure we leave time for Coop. So I want to go back to Kendall and I want to come down the line here. I've been on enough panels moderated where there's so much good information. I mean, there are so many ideas, there's so many events, there's so many programs, and there's only so much you can do. But for me, when I walk away from these events, I always say, just take away something, one critical thing, like one critical thing from each panel, one critical thing from each session. So Kendall, what is, for this audience, what's one critical thing you'd leave them with?
Be different. Think outside the box. It's okay to go outside the norm. Go outside the norm in this day and age is actually good. You know, years ago, I wouldn't be able to be on this stage talking about golf. I wouldn't be in the executive role at a company like Troon. That wouldn't be possible, you know? So I thought outside the box. I put myself in positions to be where I am. I had a ton of people helping me out with that process, but just that thought of just being okay to be different and not feel like you have to fit into a box. That's what this industry is going towards. And all of us are successful in our businesses because we think outside the box, even if we don't know that we are, because the status quo is no more anymore. So my number one thing I would say for everybody to take away is just to be different, especially when we're talking about alternative golf. Alternative golf is your free pass and your license to be different and think about fun and cool things to bring people into the game and to give people access, to give people opportunities to let this game that we love be shown off to the rest of the world. Like, this is literally a free license to do that. So there's no wrong answer for that.
Jason.
Well, that was perfect. But I would say the main thing is try not to let the industry or the golf historical rules guide your future direction. I look at the craft brew industry and, you know, where beer was, 10 years ago, now craft brew probably represents 40% of the beer space. So it may be a challenging time, but within those challenging times, there's tons of opportunities, but it requires to get outside your comfort zone and not necessarily let your historical actions be your future actions.
Laurie, bring us home. And if you want to bring me to the home of golf with you, I will happily go. I will change my plans. I will get on the flight with you, but bring us home.
I would say communication and collaboration, and just ultimately be open. I mean, I think I really enjoyed listening to a lot of the panels today. And I think a lot of the issues or the challenges that people face are shared around the room, no matter where you are and whatever part of the country or which country you're in. I definitely think we've made major inroads in the last few years by just, I don't know whether this is a Scottish thing, but we were very insular, and we don't, I think it was Damien that said earlier, we didn't want to talk about our successes or talk about the good things we do or the opportunities to work with us, partner with us, do good things. And I think the more you do that, the more you can have a conversation. And I think conversations just lead to opportunities and good things.
Thank you.
And no, you can't play the old courses.